Hi, I'm Josh, and this is What's for Dinner, Dad. It's almost time for Thanksgiving, and so for the next few videos, I'm going to go through and show you how you can make some different dishes for Thanksgiving, give you some recipe ideas, and hopefully you'll be able to use those on Turkey Day. Today, we're going to start with potatoes. We're going to do it three ways. The first way, the most texture, is going to be a roasted potato with rosemary and garlic. For those people who don't love mashed potatoes, this is the perfect thing. My son is like this, and I'm a little bit like this too. I like a little bit more crunch. The second one is going to be a very traditional mashed potato with some chives and some butter and buttermilk. Really delicious and classic. And the third one is a really more elevated mashed potato. It's a potato puree, and I'll show you how to do that with some special equipment. That's really easy to get. It's a very elevated technique, like I said, and I hope you enjoy it.
So first things first, a little disclaimer, I'm making smaller sized amounts of the recipes that are shown in the description, just so you know. But to make our roasted potatoes, we'll start with some cloves of garlic. I would say as many as you want, 6, 8, probably a good amount. I've got 4 here. You're going to smash them gently and peel them, and then you're going to roughly chop them up so that you can make them into a paste. Once they're roughly chopped, sprinkle them lightly with some kosher salt. This will act as an abrasive, and we've done this before in the guacamole videos and a couple of others. Then using the sharp edge of the knife, press down and grind the garlic until it is a paste. Like so. Set that into your mixing bowl, and then take about 6 sprigs of rosemary and pull the leaves off. Roughly chop those. Combine that together with about half a cup of olive oil, and then whisk. Then you'll take 3 pounds of red potatoes, cut them in half, and then quarter them from there. Add those to the mixing bowl with your olive oil, garlic, and rosemary mixture. Season generously with salt. Remember, these are potatoes. They're going to take a lot of salt. And then stir together to combine. Pour onto a baking sheet that is lined with heavy-duty aluminum foil, and then take the time to make sure that your potatoes each have a flesh side down. That will aid in the crispiness. And then into a 400-degree oven for about 30 minutes, you'll put these until they come out beautifully golden, and those skin sides, or rather flesh sides, that have been on the aluminum foil will have that lovely browning and crispiness. Potato number 2, mashed potatoes. It is so important that you use the right kind of potatoes. Yukon Gold potatoes are the ones you want to use, and for mashed potatoes, yes, you have to peel them. Do it on some parchment paper, so then you can simply wrap it up and throw it away. I've got 3 pounds of potatoes, and I'll cut them into equal sized 8ths or 12ths, depending on how big the potato is. And I'll put them into a pot with cold water. Season that generously with salt. You'll strain this water out, just like pasta water, so it's not that big of a deal if it's very salty. Then cover it and let it come up to temperature for about 15 minutes. Meanwhile, we're going to make our flavor liquid. Melt half a stick of butter or a full stick of butter into a pan. Add some cream and a bay leaf. Stir to combine. And some black pepper if you'd like. And then finally, some buttermilk. This will add a beautiful tangy flavor and creaminess and richness to the mashed potatoes. Do this over low heat. Stir gently to combine. And once that's all set, you can take it off the heat and set it aside. And while you're waiting for the potatoes to still come up, chop up some chives. I've got a couple dozen sticks here that I'm just running the knife through. And I may not use all of this, depends. Now that my potatoes are out, I've strained them out of their water. They're fork tender, and I'm going to use that same fork to simply mash them up. I don't really like to use that traditional potato masher. I find it to be very difficult to clean, and you end up with a lot of potatoes stuck inside of it. You can certainly use a potato ricer, but for our next technique, you'll see why that might be a little bit too much. So then I'm going to strain my flavor liquid onto the potatoes, get some of those milk solids out from the butter and the buttermilk, and of course the bay leaf. And then I'm just going to combine my liquid with the potatoes. You'll be amazed at how quickly the potatoes will absorb this liquid. I found that my potatoes were a little bit too lumpy, so I brought my fork back out to mash them up just a little bit more. But this is totally your call and however you like the texture of your mashed potatoes. So continue stirring, continue folding that liquid in. Now sprinkle in some chives and stir those in. It's a really nice aromatic bite. Finally, season with salt. Again, this is to taste, but you'll be surprised at how much salt your potatoes are going to need, even though they were in that salty water. But adjust your taste accordingly. Top it with some chives, and you've got some delicious traditional mashed potatoes. Finally, pièce de résistance, our potato puree. So in a pan with cold water, bring a pound of Yukon Gold potatoes, 3 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes up to temperature until they are tender with a knife. And this could take as much as 30 minutes to perhaps even an hour depending on how much you're making, but it's totally worth it. Then cut it in half, cut one potato in half, and push it through a fine mesh tammy. You don't have to peel the skins off because they won't make it through the mesh. But what this will do is create a velvety texture that is incredibly smooth. It's not mashed potato, it really is puree. Again, we just press down with this is a dough scraper that I'm using to push through. You could use a spoon, but that might be a little difficult. You see here again, we've cut it in half, and we're just pushing it through this tammy onto a sheet of parchment paper to catch the potato puree underneath. That's really important. You don't want to try to do this into a bowl. Do it onto a slice of parchment paper. And as those skins come off, just pull them out. And then you'll see we've got some puree that's stuck to the mesh. Very simply scrape that off with your dough scraper. Now fold up the parchment and add these potatoes back into the pot that they cooked in. It's time to add some fat. So I ended up adding almost 3/4 of a stick of butter and 1 cup of heavy cream that was warmed up over low heat and just continuously stirring. These potatoes will absorb really as much fat as you want to put in them, and this is what makes it. Now that I've got them with the fat I would like, I'm going to season them generously with salt. If you wanted to add some pepper, I might suggest using white pepper instead of black pepper, just to keep the texture and the color. Continue just mixing and folding again over low heat, and look at this. You'll not have smoother potatoes. If you have people who like smooth mashed potatoes, this is the way to go. Our 3 Thanksgiving potatoes, the roasted potatoes with garlic and rosemary, the traditional mashed potatoes with buttermilk and chives, and the potato puree.
And that's how we do it. Those are our 3 potatoes for Thanksgiving. Let's give them a try. First, our roasted potatoes with garlic and rosemary, the most textured potato we made. So very good. So very good. You get some crunch from the side that was down on the pan, like we talked about, and then just that rosemary and garlic. It pairs so well. It's going to pair really nicely with some turkey too. Great, great choice here. Now for our mashed potatoes with chives and butter and buttermilk. Absolutely classic. Absolutely classic. A wonderful richness from the butter and the half and half we put in. It's cut with a little bit of that tang from the buttermilk, and then the aromatic flavor of the chives that comes through. This is good. Yeah. Classic Thanksgiving. Can't go wrong with this one. And then finally, our puree of potatoes that we put through the Tamis and emulsified with some cream and butter. This one is silky smooth. There's just, it's so smooth. And a beautiful richness that will go really nicely with some turkey or whatever else you want to have for Thanksgiving. It's just absolutely delicious. And like I said, smooth, velvety texture. Oh, yeah. I think this was my favorite, actually. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you enjoy these potatoes. I hope you try one for your Thanksgiving dinner. Until next time, I'm Josh, and this is What's for Dinner, Dad.
If you found this episode helpful, saw something useful, or want to try a recipe, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow on social media for updates and to ask questions. I'm Josh, and this is What's for Dinner, Dad.